what have we got here? Oh, a pack of the newest expansion. Well, it looks like nobody else is around, so let's crack open a pack, shall we? Ah, yes. Very cool. And there we go, very good pull if I would say so myself. This is nice. Good return on gambling, but that's only the last card I got. I opened a whole pack, and this card is what I was looking for, but the rest are kinda meh. Not that these cards aren't nice, but they aren't this. So what's the deal with that? Let's get into how a pack works, because it's something that card game players almost can't avoid. Card games are sold through packs. You buy a pack, open the pack, and see what cards you get. Is this literally gambling? Yes. There are other ways product is moved, pre-constructed decks that have no aspect of chance, but these only give access to a limited card pool, and they are more of a supplemental way to get access to cards. And we can't forget selling single-digit number of cards for 40 to 50 bucks. That's always fun. Secret layers are funny. But the point I'm making is that the primary way for players to get cards is through packs. So, how do packs work? Well, every new expansion comes with a new set of cards, usually a substantial number, sometimes fitting a theme, and most of the time, a lot of new cards for players to experiment with. And each pack draws from the expansion set as a pool. Each of these packs gives you the potential to get any of these cards, with some of them being shinier and better than the rest. So what are these packs comprised of? Let's talk about the structure of a pack. This is an even bigger generalization than the previous one, but most card games do follow this general format. What do you get when you finally crack open a pack? We start off with resource cards and tokens. Cards that are still cards and necessary, but aren't exactly glamorous. Something that new players will need, so it's given to them. Added more as a consideration than as something you buy the pack for. And after that, you get some commons, the lowest rarity and the largest part of the expansion pool. And so, you get more commons in a pack than any other card. And it's not that commons aren't cool. There are many strong commons, many exciting commons, but on average they are the least cool out of the card pool. What comes after commons? After that are the uncommons. They aren't always called that, but the point is made, the rarity above the lowest. Proportionally less in the pool, and because of that you get fewer in the pack. A little cooler to make up for it. And finally, after all those cards, we make our way to the end of the pack. This is where the good stuff is. The rares, the mythics, the ultra rares, the cards that you are actively pulling for. This is what you want. This is what you're gambling for. But every pack you open only gives you 1 or 2 shots at it. They make up the smallest part of the expansion pool, and they make up the smallest part of the pack. This is a slot that sells packs and keeps collectors interested in this sphere. So that's breaking down packs, and in practice, if you're opening packs not just to open them, gambling for the fun of it, the vast majority of the time you're opening them for one card and one opportunity. But if you take this concept and apply it to a gameplay perspective, it also isn't too out of the ordinary. Despite what one would think based on the prices, decks aren't entirely comprised of rares and cards of the highest rarity. Maybe in Yu-Gi-Oh! It is. So you'll need cards of all rarities. And rarity doesn't always have a direct correlation to card strength. These are all very strong cards that are low rarity. There's even an entire format that is built around building a deck with only common cards. Pauper is neat. Not for me though. Which means that while these cards don't take up a top dollar mark, they're still essential for players. Sometimes the card is good enough by itself, and sometimes the card is necessary as a stepping stone to a more expensive card, or as a resource you need to run. And so everything makes sense, because as long as you open a pack, you're getting things you would want. Hypothetically, every single card you get from a pack can fit into a relatively decent deck, right? You wouldn't end up with any cards that are, as one would say, useless, right? And here, the construct of the pack begins to fall apart. Because sometimes you'll open a pack and find something like this. What is this? Why did I get this? And why is this here? Here's the thing. Cards aren't made equal. I think the topic of the video already makes that very clear. But even within cards of the same rarity, there are clear differences in perceived quality. One of my favorite Pokémon is Regigigas, but take an equally powerful Charizard card, and the Charizard will surely be more sought after in the market, because this character is more popular than this one. And even ignoring the popularity of cards that need shiny pictures on them, not all cards are equally as strong. Here are 2 newer cards from a Pokémon set. One of them is very clearly made to be a playable card that can facilitate a new deck. and the other one is probably not that. Expansions are big, and the people who make these cards have deadlines. We really need this many sets a year or nobody will play the game anymore. And I'm sure everyone would want every single new card that gets released to be relevant in the metagame. But that is really hard, and card games aren't only made for the competitors, so an expansion set will end up with some cards that may not be as viable. Cards that could be branded as pack filler. Don't forget that packs are made to be random, so there need to be low rolls and high rolls, and sometimes we just need to put in more low rolls. And there are good commons and bad commons. There are cards that have value, and there is pack filler. Cards that very clearly are not made to fit a strategy or to be played in a meta deck. Each rarity does get stuffed with pack filler in order to make it difficult to hit the cards you actually want. And this isn't the best thing, but something they need to make money or whatever. But we can do our best to make the most out of a bad situation. Also, don't buy packs, just buy singles. As made abundantly clear, packs are randomized, which is something that is valuable. The genre is built around the idea of variance. You're drawing cards that you don't always have access to. So if we want randomness, to an extent, and the packs are random, we can use them to play a whole different format. Draft format, where you draft cards from packs like the Cowboys taking O-line year after year, and yet we still lose to the Panthers. Sorry. You open packs and you build a deck with the cards right out of the pack. Indispensable resource cards are provided from the side, kind of like how a base set is provided for standard. Sometimes you crack open a lot of packs, and sometimes you pass them around. But it takes the randomness of the packs and uses it to test your deck building skills. After all, deck building is half the battle. This isn't completely universal, not every card game gives packs that are conducive to this type of play. In fact, Pokémon only really does draft with pre-releases, where you get a pre-release kit that helps you build around. And the equivalency in the online space is something like Hearthstone's Arena. Instead of building a deck, you pick between 3 cards to draft into your deck, and once you get your 30, that's what you play with. Same general concept, but at the end of the day, it's still playing the same game, with the same skills, except you need to rely a little bit more on deck building. Another aspect of draft formats is that an overwhelming majority of the time, the strength of the format is weaker than constructed formats. Constructed is what we call non-draft formats. When you don't get to pick all your cards, you can't create as many synergies, you can't make sure your curve is as clean, and you can't guarantee that you'll have all the pieces for an archetype. In most scenarios, a draft deck will just be worse than a constructed deck. It doesn't have the opportunity to hit critical mass like a constructed one does. Now, we can come back to the cards that I just lambasted for being bad and that nobody wanted. But here's the thing. Pack filler may be completely unplayable in constructed play, but when you look at it through the lens of draft, these cards are no longer so useless. When examining them with a weaker format in mind, cards that you wouldn't be happy to open suddenly provide a lot of value when you're drafting. Cards that have unreasonable cost but have high stats? Good draft cards. Ways to dump your mana in the later stages when the 2 of you are top decking? Good arena card. Some random rulebox card that only slightly outclasses single prize attackers? I'm ecstatic to get that in draft. And draft format isn't something that goes unnoticed. The people who print these cards have made it very clear that they know what's going on and actively support it. So no, these cards aren't useless, they're made so that players can play the game in an alternative way. It just so happens that they're put in the packs to make it harder for people to hit what they want. Is this rewriting history to give the card designers credit for something the players mangled together? Maybe. But as an esteemed gentleman I knew once said, it is what it is. But like I keep mentioning with everything that has been discussed here, not all sets are built equal. Now that draft has been acknowledged, it's another aspect of the game that should be balanced. There are some sets that are widely considered good draft sets, and some that are considered bad ones. Entirely different than the criteria set for constructed formats. Because if the reason for making bad cards is for draft, you're going to have to balance draft. So either fill these packs with good cards, or make sure the bad ones are at least thought out, or do both, that'd be cool too. So if you're someone who likes opening packs, or is interested in a bit more variance, or just want to play a bit of a slower format, try drafting. Even though it's not for me, I still think it's pretty neat.